different here, and if Elevate will keep the same sort of strategy. It's one of the first times Elevate have really done well in the mid to late, though, where generally I've always seen them make small mistakes that have ended up costing them against teams that may have had a little bit of a later game composition. So I kind of understand what Dignitas were looking for there with that last draft.
Yeah, not this time around, though. Elevate went ahead and played it pretty safe throughout, and you can see they're taking away the isometric again. That's another, they just do not want to let Fails get that Susanoo.
Interesting change from Elevate here, though. They're going to ban Ymir themselves. Why do you think that?
Well, Dardas probably doesn't want to opt for it, and they don't want to go ahead and give it away to Trixtank. You can see Cubo immediately opting for that Humbots, take it away from Fails as well as have that CC composition that you could have coming through for Dignitas, because I think that the bots ultimates were really important for Elevate as well, because the cooldown is so low on that, especially when you rush a little bit of CDR, and the way that they were able to just keep continuously engaging, you know, he was popping like at least 2 bots ultimates per team fight engagements or those dance around areas, and that's crucial when it comes to those securing of objectives.
Well, Elevate going to answer back with Sylvanas and Anher, so we're definitely going to get a mix up this time round compared to the last game with Arkil was playing the Anher. Now it's going to be Jermaine on it as well, and in response this time they're going to get Hercules Dignitas, so these rosters definitely going to be different in picks and bans this time. You
could see, though, the same kind of focus is coming through on the side of Elevate, at least for that duo lane. Sylvanas on her, that's another high-pressure lane. That is something that's just classic Elevate style for Dardas and Jermaine, and I think that that's a really safe option for them to go for, because you see Dignitas, they're looking for a lot of setup again, and they're opting for the Fafnir, and you can see the Circuit lock-in coming through. That could be that could spell a little bit of trouble for the Hercules.
And why? Just because of the anti-heal more than anything else?
Just the anti-heal more than anything else, and Circuit has a lot of chase down potential. Early on, you know Hercules isn't going to have a beads, and so if he opts to try and do anything in the solo lane in particular, Circuit's probably going to be looking to just hang around on that side of the map.
Okay, we'll see if Circuit ends up doing that. If he fails, camps that solo lane a little bit more. Isis and Odin banned out by Dignitas, so a little shot towards Nulissa's lane pressure in the mid lane. Where do you expect to see Nulissa go now? Toth is still available.
Yeah, Yanis. It happened way too fast for me to be able to say it. Yanis is something that Nulissa is notorious for playing in EU. It's definitely a comfort pick for her as well, so she's not going to really be out of her element, even though she doesn't have the Isis ultimate coming through, and it's going to provide a lot of engage and disengage on the side of Team Elevate.
Well, Zero's going to pick up the New War here as well for himself. A little bit of a rise in New War all of a sudden. A couple more mid laners starting to bring it into fashion. Even though she did have a backdoor protections removed from their clay minions here, still getting drafted.
That ultimate can be really annoying. It's just non-stop proccing onto you, and it's not even just the damage necessarily, because, you know, it's not really providing a whole lot of damage early on, but you have to worry about the vision that it provides, and so it could give a slight advantage if you're trying to look for like a sneaky objective. You're just like, okay, let's just find out where the enemy is.
That's true. It's like 5 wards that are free, basically, that come up for a limited time and guarantee that you see where the people are as well. Bellona locked in finally for no numbers in the solo lane here, and Ul as well for Arkil. A little bit of a different roster from Dignitas this time round. Looking at the compositions alone, how are we feeling about this one, Taco?
I think that Elevate has a really strong draft right now.
Yeah?
I really do think that they have an incredibly strong draft, but knowing Dignitas, they're not looking to give this one up easy in the slightest. They are going to be looking for the split, and so I wouldn't be surprised to see them playing this a little bit more aggressive than what they did in that last game.
And talk about aggression, you can see where Dignitas has stood right on this right-hand side. 3 members strong here, Trixtank, Variety, and in tow as well is good old Cuvo Fred coming up round the back. No numbers. Finds Variety first of all. Is he going to get hit by an Earthbreaker or a driving strike? Variety didn't want to choose, but he will now. The setup is there with the hammer from Trixtank as well. Fantastic combination, but it's not enough for a kill. No numbers will stay alive.
That is so unfortunate for Team Dignitas. I thought that that was a guaranteed secure kill onto no numbers, going ahead and punishing him for just strolling through the jungle right there. But he just squeaks out by the skin of his teeth.
Does that hurt too much in terms of Variety's wave clear now with this Earthbreaker instead of having that driving strike as well?
Oh, definitely. I mean, he's not going to really have any kind of push potential into the lane. I wouldn't be surprised to see Elevate maybe try and loop around, because you can see Circuit starting in the mid lane here, but I wouldn't be surprised if he decided to go towards that solo lane afterwards, knowing that Variety doesn't have as much clear potential.
Well, Arkil did get the babies away from his purple buff there on his own. He's in a 2v1 because Trixtank started mid, but it looked like he tried to hang around to do the purple buff too. Elevate just outcleared him a lot quicker than he was hoping for. Now the red buff being attempted. Zeros is here with Trix though, and they will. Who's going to get that buff overall? It does go the way of Elevate by the looks of it, and now they're looking to invade a little bit more pressure onto Trixtank after hitting level 2, but they can't find that pull. If that pull would have hit, different story. Elevate off to a great start again.
And you can see the same kind of start coming out as well in the solo lane side, where the junglers and solo laners are just trading off buffs, which isn't too big of a deal. I mean, they're just securing buffs for each other from the enemy team's lane. But this could be a little bit of trouble for Variety. I feel like Circuit's going to want to hang around because now that the duo lane has established so much pressure, it's actually pretty safe for them.
More pressure for Arkell. Now, great beats from Jermaine early on, looking for the in-hand still. That secondary in-hand missing, though, would have potentially got a kill. Right-hand side, back to the action again. Blue buff still stands. Fails is low, but so was Variety. The damage from Fails was too much from the in-hand, thanks to his passive. The blue buff is still alive. Elevate will back off, though, knowing Trix was on his way.
And you can see Kivo just going ahead, trying to secure this buff, heal himself up a little bit. That could have been disastrous. Even like worse than Variety dying there for the first blood on the Circuit. Just imagine if they'd also been able to secure that blue buff. But you could see, like you said, they just opted to disengage. They didn't want to risk anything with, you know, Trixting trying to rotate around. And it was just definitely the safer play on Elevate. And I think that it's really smart of them to play with that much discipline early on.
Right, you can see Zero's in the mid lane, playing the new war. Now, he did do this last game on Toth as well, where he started Bumba's Mask. We're seeing this after the changes as well. Bumba's Mask now will heal the closest person who has Bumbas to the camp as well. So it does give some more sustain to mid laners potentially here, Taco, if they're going to be doing them away from a jungler who's going to want that sustain as well.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good change coming through for the junglers. I'm sure a lot of them are really ecstatic about it. And you can see Darts coming through with this permanent purple buff. You know, those prots are going to come in really clutch, especially with the on her side. But no numbers in trouble.
Still only level 4. The disarm will help him for a second, but it won't stop the monkey hitting him in the back of their head. And that's going to spell disaster. As now a good answer back from Trixtank, sorry, for Dignitas there and Kivo Fred. And the compression on the right-hand side is Arkell on the left. Been left in this 2v1 all day. And now pulled into an awkward spot, forced to beads away again. There's just not enough follow-up damage, however.
Really lucky that Jermaine only just hit level 5 and didn't have it prepared for when that pillar initially came through onto Arkell. And I think that it's also just so much aggression coming out onto him. He really needs a little bit of a rotation. He needs some assistance, but at the same time, you know, there's just so much pressure coming out onto that solo lane side. Even when the numbers having falling down and Variety getting a chance to like step back in, at the same time, Sylvanas is just such a nuisance early on.
Eagles rally already down from no numbers, fear no evil in response from Kivo Fred as well, looking for Fails again. The boulder comes out and double top of the wall, picks up one. Variety stands for a second, but it's a 2-for-1 engagement on the right-hand side. Does that definitely spell good things for Dignitas there?
Oh no, that is really bad for Elevate what just happened, because you never want to go down in a 2v1 scenario. If anything, a trade out is fine. You know, you can chill with the 1v1, but losing that kind of trade just opens up Elevate to being able to get engaged upon by Dignitas. And you can see they're immediately responding to this potential buff invade. I wouldn't be surprised to see they're losing both their buffs on the right-hand side at the same time as well, so they're going to be losing a lot of map pressure.
Well, they do get their speed buff, and the blue buff looks like it may have been stolen away there by Dignitas as well. We'll find out going on. You can see on the left-hand side as we were watching the action, though, Elevate really investing into Arkell right now. They know he's not got beads. They're trying to find the pull on him consistently, but Arkell seems to be wise about that.
Yeah, Arkell is definitely playing it safe. I mean, that's kind of what you have to do when you're left in the 2v1 scenario. You just expect to be aggressed upon, especially by such a high-pressure duo lane. So he's just going to have to keep hugging that tower line and just try and wait it out until we see more of the Nuwa presence coming online, because she is one of those characters as well that really starts to prosper in that mid to late game stage. So if Arkell can just bide his time and not fall too far behind to where Elevate can go and secure a free Gold Fury, I think the Dignitas are looking in a really good position right now.
Well, you talk about to me a little bit about the hunters as well, because we see a lot of them now ended up in these 2v1 scenarios. Which are the best sort of hunters for the 2v1s? Is all strong for that? I feel like, for me personally, it's just like, he's not got CC immunity though, so it's a little risky, right?
Not having CC immunity can be a little bit... it can be awkward, but at the same time, you have Uller, who has a lot of high pressure, high clear himself. Even if the Fafnir isn't there, he can still clear the wave pretty safely under tower and not lose too much gold for it. And at the same time, gold isn't really as important as much as the experience is for him early on, because you can see he's staying on par for the most part with Jermaine, despite the fact that they're having so much secure in the jungle on the oracles and everything like that. But the solo farm for Arkell is really important.
Is it other hunters as well, though, that you think are better in that situation, or work just as well in the 2v1s? Which ones are the better ones?
I think as far as a 2v1 scenario, you're looking at
there's a 2v1 scenario. Hold down for right under pressure, pull back in as well. The damage is coming through, and the procs from the in-hands from Fails are fantastic right now just to secure this. It did get a buff a little patch or two ago for the extra damage, and it's showing dividends there for the likes of Fails and Elevate.
Yeah, Fails' entire goal, I think, with that Circuit is just hang out in that solo lane.
Great ult from Dardes to prevent the fear no evil, and in the same time, Nulis is under pressure, but she'll get through that pull. Cubo's now too far forward. Zero's with the cleanup crew, however. however, will at least answer back and make sure that was worth the while for Team Dignitas.
And that's the other thing about Nua as well that we didn't even get a chance to discuss is that cleanup crew potential that you're not letting Yanis get away. We're so accustomed to seeing Yanis get out, 1-2 HP escapes, and you can see right there, Nalisa almost had the perfect getaway, but then you just had Zeros ruining the day.
And two of the gods that are very good against Yanis for catch potential, obviously Nua with the ultimate that would chase you, but also Humbats has really shown as time's gone on that he has a lot of chances to try and follow you through, maybe use the monkey toss to be able to teleport to them when they go through the pole, or even the somersault or blink to continue the chase as well. Humbats has started to shine a little bit more when people have compared it, up against a Yanis.
Yeah, no, Kivil played that perfectly, going ahead and pressuring her out because getting that in hand gave him enough damage for Zeros to go ahead and have the cleanup potential.
Left-hand side, the axe not from Arkell does not hit onto Jermaine, neither does the hammer. Those two need a bit of practice, and now Jermaine feeling himself a little bit here, realizing they've not got any CC to really set him up. Going aggressive for a second, doesn't find as much as he would like for the time being. Now the Dardes turns up, who once again has a level lead over Trixtank.
On her with red buff early on as well, you can see the reason why they didn't really want to engage there is because Arkell had just used his abilities to clear the wave, and even if Trixtank had gone for a stun or anything, it's still a little bit too risky to try and engage onto that on her early on.
You heard the circuit poison for a second there. The ultimate was not consumed. A somersault was just in the air as it was attempted to go through, so the ultimate not on cooldown from Fails. At the same time as Beads not consumed by Kivo, but did he cut it close there?
Oh no, that you can just tell that he's clenching a little bit going through onto that jump because had he been caught, that would have been more than enough damage for Fails to go ahead and try and follow it up and look for the kill potential.
And now, only 8 minutes in, we've got about 7 kills on the board already. A little bit of a faster pace than last game in one way. There's still been plenty of action though over in Europe, and is this something we're expecting? Because generally Europe seems a little bit slower just lately.
Well, it's like we talked about earlier when we were discussing the drafts and everything like that. We saw Elevate in the previous game putting a lot of emphasis onto that early game with the pressure, and Dignitas this time around, they did draft a little bit more of a composition that could handle that. Not necessarily one like a Nemesis and, Thoth and everything like that, where they don't really have much to really base their early game off of. But now they can actually go a little bit more responsive to the engagements that Elevate's been trying to force and make. And we've seen it a lot. Anytime they go for the pick and solo lane, there's typically a response onto it.
Yeah, it seems a bit very similar to Season 3, end of Season 3, where we saw a lot of teams drafting early, and it was actually the teams that drafted the ones that could deal with the early better and have a better mid-game to late that ended up paying it off. Jermaine hit by the Fear No Evil, space and time, fire by Nalisa for support. Luckily he was on a team, otherwise that would have been a different story there for Jermaine overall. Didn't use his beads at all there, but the Fear No Evil is now down.
Yeah, the impale coming in pretty clutch for him. If he'd missed that, that could have spelled a little bit of trouble, but at the same time, you did at the end his ultimate, which probably would have deterred Kivo and Arkell from trying to chase that regardless, because anytime you see a Yanis ultimate coming through, you can kind of expect 4 people to be following through with it as well.
Dignitas doing a much better job of keeping ahead in gold and experience this game so far in terms of kills as well. When you look at it, the experience is even. There is a slight gold lead right now, but that's spread across multiple people. But you can just see how Dignitas are starting to control these mid camps overall across the map. The oracles, the elementals as well. They're getting better pressure here.
Forcing out Arkell's beads there could be really important though for a Gold Fury engage now that he's more susceptible to falling down should they look for the picks. And you can see Fails, he wants
He's already over here. He's already like, hey, hang on a second. Beads just got used. I'm on the map. Well, I might as well turn up. But the bad news is Trixtank did have an inkling that Circuit was there. She's shown presence, which means Arkell will be like, hey, Trix, I'm just going to sit under this tower for a little while and wait till she disappears.
And either way, though, Arkell is going to need to back very soon. So Elevate needs to play it, or not Elevate, but Dignitas needs to play a little bit safer because as soon as Arkell backs, you can expect that Elevate might be looking for a potential engagement.
Well, Jermaine was looking to back there just a little bit ahead of time. That's been denied now. And Jermaine not happy about that. Instead, he'll stay in lane. He needs to finish off his Transcendence as well. Both these hunters going for the Transcendence route here.
Yeah, Transcendence is a really huge power spike. It's not typically something that we've really seen built on Honor before in this duo lane, but I think in this meta in particular, it works so well for him because that early damage hurts. And his ultimate comes through, you feel every single impale.
So it's more for the damage than anything else that we see in this Transcendence picked up now?
I would say so, definitely.
Why did they move away from Devourer's Gauntlets? Do you know why? Because obviously it was all about life steal and sustain. And if you're in 2v1, sustain's important, right?
Sustain is important. You can see sometimes, like occasionally it'll still come out on a couple of hunters, that have attack speed boost in their kits, like Rom and Apollo, for instance. But at the same time, there's not really much need for it because Devos is something you don't really prosper on until the mid-late game stage. And a lot of these fights that have been occurring lately, we've seen coming through in the early game, and they just want to look for as much damage as possible early on to go ahead and secure the early objectives.
Well, raw damage versus survivability is the call then for the Hunters. Gold Fury is not attempted just yet by Elevate. The Oracle's not going to be available for now as both teams posturing around their wall coverage pretty heavy for the time being. Did you expect it to go this way so far in this game?
I think that Team Dignitas has done a really excellent job at controlling the map much better than what we saw in the past game. And granted, that is credited to their draft being, I think, better this time around. But at the same time, they're not playing as passively as they were last time, kind of just letting Elevate engage and invade whenever they wanted to. Now they're like responding, and that's making Elevate have to play things a lot more cautiously than what they were previously.
It does look like Elevate do want to try and set something up around the Gold Fury. Right-hand side, though, Variety is going to deny no numbers that blue buff with a fantastic driving strike away from the bludgeon that was just coming out there from no numbers as well. Variety's pretty much got that one on lockdown on that left-hand side at the moment.
That's just a feels bad man all around for Valona in the solo lane. You want to just, you know, pick up your blue buff and you're just getting bullied by Hercules.
Left-hand Oracles are going to go down the way of Elevate here. Trixtank walk around the corner looking for a pinch. The bad news is, though, is the team were already, there was 4 members there. I don't think he wanted to take on that many just yet.
And you can see this is kind of like a slow bleed by Dignitas, if anything, because Elevate, even though they've been securing their own buffs and looking for the potential invades and things like that, Dignitas are actually, with a slight gold lead, they have like a 1.3k gold lead, which I don't think Elevate were really anticipating to happen.
Well, this cheeky portal demon coming out from Dignitas here. This is the thing about the portal demon that people don't recognize about Taco. In the early game when it first spawns, it's not that difficult to take on your own or with just 2 people.
And having New Wall makes it even easier than just, you know, any other characters. I mean, typically you see people opt for it whenever they have a heal, so I'm kind of surprised that we didn't see Dardas try and rotate over with like Nulisa and Fails to go ahead and look for the potential lockdown on it.
When you say New Wall, though, why is it New Wall specifically you think is so good for the portal demon taken?
The clay minions.
Tanking? Is that mainly the thing?
Yeah, it's just there's such a free tank, so you don't take as much damage, so you can, you know, go ahead and burst it down, but
so
at the same time, you're
like
not,
that, like Vulcan
Turret
will do it, you've got Scardy that could do that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, no, Vulcan is also another great character for that kind of stuff, considering that his turret not only deals a ton of damage, but it takes a decent bit as well.
Well, Cuvo trying to contest against the speed buff of Elevate there, but with Nulisa in the background on that Giannis, she's very respectful and will fall back. Nulisa has gone for the Doom Mob, which we've seen on more and more Giannis this year. You see the portal connect, Unstable Vortex, different story, great pull from Dardas, but there's no real follow-up to that, unfortunately, as Unstable Vortex was already used.
That's just for styling points right there on Dardas. He just wants to let him know, I got you.
I know where you were going to go. I predicted that one. Nice and easy. And I guess at the same time, it just boosts your confidence. I think we need to do that at the end of the game, don't you? Where people with pulls and things like that, there's actually a completion amount of your ability usage for when you actually land things.
No, it definitely makes you feel a lot better whenever you pull off something like that. And then on top of things, you know, it's just letting them know, hey, I'm still hanging around. You know, something could go wrong here.
Definite confidence boost for Elevate there. Already up 1 game against Dignitas as well. If you're just tuning in, yes, it wasn't a close match in my eyes. Elevate pretty much ran the show in game 1.
No, they definitely, there was some shining hope for Dignitas, but it just fell so short, so fast, and Elevate immediately just controlled and dominated in that first game.
It's a bit of a slower pace here. In terms of just goal difference between the two, no one's really got a huge lead right now. On the left-hand side, Cuvo Fred is in this dual lane looking to set up something with his team. Unfortunately, though, you can see hanging around in the jungle there is Circuit and Giannis, and you've always got to be respectful of that Giannis ultimate.
I think, if anything, that's the main reason why we haven't seen Dignitas aggress nearly as much as they've probably been wanting to.
In the jungle, Fails forced to leap out, and Alyssa's portal was there for support if needed as well. Gold Fury hasn't gone down just yet, but this gold lead, for the most part, from Dignitas has come from that portal demon, pretty much.
It's just the portal demon and just Dignitas also farming efficiently. They've been securing their waves as a grouping, you know, playing it safe in the jungle areas, and plus Variety's had a lot of control onto that solo lane. And securing the blue buff, you know, that's also just like a little bit of a slow trickling gold lead coming in.
Yeah, Hercules starting to rise more and more. Europe, who were the real dominant cases in week 1 of showing it, then it kind of had a drop off for a week in between. But then North America in week 2, they brought it out a little bit. Scary D showed how good Hercules can be as well. And now Europe's like, well, now that North America have realized it too, we're going to go back and run it as well.
Yeah, and that's great. He definitely had an excellent showing on the Hercules. And Varieties, I think, has been pretty strong as well. You can see Erpert coming through, Boulder for some poke damage. Not really any kill potential, but it's mostly just like a lane dominance kind of thing that he just wants to go ahead, assert, and put some pressure onto this tower, try and take it away.
Well, he's starting to whittle it down more and more. No Numbers would really like to clear the minions here, but he's got to be careful of those driving strikes. That's what Variety is looking to do in this lane. Every time he sees the bludgeon, if he can catch the minions, if there's minions there, but at the same time hit the driving strike, he could be in trouble. Variety could be getting baited a little bit here as in comes Fails. The blink of the first kiss didn't hit. The second one did. Bludgeon does not find a home, but Fails will still clean it up with the in-hand.
I think that was just a little bit too much aggression coming out on the side of Variety for him to not have a ward placed in the jungle there, especially with how long he was hanging on that tower line. And now that could spell bad news for Team Dignitas because Elevate immediately pressuring that Gold Fury because of it. New ultimate for the ward vision.
It's not going to be enough to stop them doing this though, because I don't think Arkell's going to be here in time at all. Gold Fury goes the way of Elevate, and that fight on the right-hand side gave a window for Elevate now at the same time as Back's coming out from Dignitas to even up this game.
Yeah, you can see that's exactly what Dignitas didn't want to happen, because while their draft is going to start prospering a little bit more in this mid to late with the bot's ultimate and the new wall damage coming online, at the same time, you don't want to keep a game even if you don't have to. And to lose a 2K-ish gold lead for kind of a silly reason just seems... It's a little demoralizing.
You can see the net worth on the left-hand side. It's pretty balanced between the two right now. Variety's going to teleport in, catch No Numbers into a driving strike. Trickstank here to support as well. Not so sure about the status of his hammer for the time being, but in the jungle, Fails forced to beads away, back to safety there as well. Blink was already on cooldown as well. There's on the left-hand side a duel between the hunters.
And you can see how much these hunters are just starting to hurt. The in-hands from Jermaine are swinging. Like, that was doing almost as much damage as Arkell's ability.
But when you look at the actual difference between the two, one has Assy, one doesn't. One's got more mobility. So it's mobility versus lifesteal here in the grand scheme of things. Which one do you favor?
I would
or
probably...
is that hunter dependent?
It is hunter dependent, but at the same time, I would probably favor the on her, purely because while Aussie has a great passive that can come online and, you know, save you at the moments that you would really need it to, Fatalis just has so much kiting mobility, and it's really difficult to lock down a hunter that's just swinging around you and getting free auto attacks off for the most part.
Interesting dance here around the right-hand side. With the Gold Fury being down, it seems to be Portal Demon Control that's next on the list. 4 members of Elevate Strong. Only 2 of Dignitas were in the areas. Now Cuvo and Zero's now joining the mix. Trix trying to keep Nulissa and Fails at bay for the time being. But Dignitas pretty much on the defensive here.
Yeah, Variety running actually a little bit low on
dead.
mana. And
pulled into an awkward position as well. Fear no evil though from Cuvo denies Variety dying. They're still committing for him, but his heals, his meditate come into play as well. The driving strike under the table, under the turret, sorry, and that's going to pick up Fails. And Nulissa on her last legs being chased by Cuvo. He's looking to go over the wall. He blinks over the wall. Monkey toss doesn't hit, but the overhand smash does. However, he walks straight into Jermaine, who's not feeling like taking it. It ends up being a 2-for-0 in favor of Dignitas.
That was beautifully played by Variety to not fall down when he did. And Dartis immediately just falling down as well into that T1 tower. He thought he was safe, and he wasn't.
He wasn't at all, and that's just going to spell more doom and gloom now for Elevators. Dignitas starting to find their feet in this game now. They seem to have focused around the mid-game a little bit overall with both their compositions. This one's just slightly early to mid rather than mid to late.
And immediately you can see that gold swing going back in their favor after securing the T1 tower, the Portal Demon winning the team fight. That is exactly what they needed to happen after that slip up in the solo lane death, and then the Gold Fury lost to Elevate. But the response from Dignitas is a really strong one, and if anything, I think that it's better than what Elevate just did, because that didn't come from a pick. That came from winning the team fight, showing that their composition is definitely a force to be reckoned with.
And it was Elevate hanging on a second. Jermaine in a bit of a trouble here. He's forced to leap away straight towards Trickstank, who disarms him. Tier 1 tower falls. Jermaine's going to be fine for now. However, Elevator here, No Numbers getting fancy, going aggressive. Not going to look for the Eagles rally for now, though, as both teams do fall back after the tier 1. But go back to that team fight again for me, because when we saw it, they'd invested a lot there, Elevate, on to Variety, trying to bring him down. But was that more great execution of Dignitas in the defense with Cuvo Fred coming in, or was it more mistakes from Elevate to allow that to happen?
Slight mistakes from Elevate, because they shouldn't have invested that much into a Hercules, but at the same time, I don't think they were anticipating him to survive as long as he did.
No Numbers took a bit of pokes there overall, not enough to force him back to base for the time being. His still Bologna for now, and you can see his build, Nemean Lion into Witchblade as well. Witchblade isn't anti-heal item as well as an attack speed reduction this season. But that Nemean line is something that's starting to rise a little bit more in competitive play just lately, and in rank 2.
It's just so much physical protection early on, and for how cheap the item is, and then the passive that it has with the reflecting of the damage, it's really useful against ADCs, if anything. So we're probably expecting him to try and be more of a front line and just eating the damage, from Arcule. Yeah, he's just trying to get in Arcule's phase and basically just chase him down.
And with a Sunder as well, he can boost that damage a little bit. Trixtank going to avoid the unstable vortex there and disarm Dardes. Make sure he gets those Traveler's Shoes procs as well for his extra gold income that's so important to the little dwarf.
And you can see, actually, it's been kind of a slow one on the side of the supports. You see Dardes hasn't really had an opportunity to be a part of any of the kills that his team has secured. It's basically just been entirely on fails, camping that solo lane. But on the side of Trixtan, you see him with 3 assists. He's kind of been around, but at the same time, we haven't really seen a whole lot of engage coming through with team fights. I think that last team fight was probably the first actual one we got to witness. The rest of these have mostly just come from picks and then backing off, picks looking for a buff.
And Elevate right now. Jermaine, you can see he's actually gone for Chin size now. He's got those online already. The build differences between the two is Assy versus Chins now. So one's lifesteal, one's more penetration and damage to higher health targets as well.
See, this is a little bit risky on the side of Jermaine, though, because while he's going to be hitting really hard with the Chin size coming through, at the same time, it leaves him very open to being burst down by Dignitas, because Ullr hurts, especially a Transcendence Ullr. That's going to hurt. You've got new wall for the lockdown, so all they really need to do is get a slight CC chain going onto Jermaine, force out his actives, re-engage on him, and he's not going to have a chance to really utilize that damage.
Well, nice little CC chain onto Dardes there, knocking him down to half health, but he will be able to heal up. Didn't have to use a relic just yet, but this was all a ploy for Dignitas to start the Gold Fury with Dardes being at half health. He's got to be careful. The burst is pretty good on this from Dignitas right now. They will reset as Trixtan goes in. Space and time fired off by Nulissa. Was looking for the secure, some poke damage, but Dignitas had it covered. Now Fails in trouble and bursting immediately. Zero's credited for the kill. Dignitas go back to the gold.
And you can see Elevate are just going to fall back, let that one go the way of Team Dignitas. After seeing how fast Fails was just there and then he wasn't, they don't want to be hanging around.
No numbers under pressure here. Nice little wall coming into play though from Jermaine to help out his team. Variety doesn't really care about anything right now. He is that Hercules with a strong build, forcing no numbers into an awkward spot. More than anything, he's creating a zone here for his team to take a tier 1 tower.
And this is where it gets really awkward for Elevate, because Dignitas are going to keep pressuring really hard right now, especially since they have so much siege potential with the new clay minions.
And then goes Variety again. Earthbreaker hits. Jermaine forced to beat and Aegis there as well. Bit of an awkward spot for the Hunter to be in. No numbers having to be a front line. Has Nemean line, remember, eating a lot of damage over there, but as is Variety, it's only the solo laner from Elevate that falls though. Zero's credited with the kill again. The tier 2 tower gonna fall here for Dig on top.
And they're just gonna go ahead and disengage. I think that's a safe choice for sure for them to go ahead and make. They got the T1, T2. Trix is gonna become a victim, but at the same time, I think the rest of them can get out for the most part.
Variety's in a bit of an awkward spot now. He helped peel for Zero's. Cubo Fred helping to peel too. Fails, takes a lot of damage from Arca, but Arca leads an unstable vortex as well. Elevate continuing to chase with the portals. Nulissa can speed up her team. They will have to dive if they want to go for this. Zero's look for the lazy back. Nulissa thinking about going under the tower. Looks for the burst and Variety not going to find it. Nulissa doesn't get hit by the Earthbreaker. Variety's still out of position here, but it's Jermaine. Jermaine eats most of the damage from Zero's there. Variety still alive, looking to just get home.
I think the safe choice for Elevate to make is to just go ahead and back off there. They managed to find one pick, and you can see Variety.
He's looking for a tricky play on Jermaine, but I think there was an enemy ward there as well, I feel, that they knew about, and he's not going to find what he was looking for. Teleport wasted looking for a tricksty play there.
You can tell he just wanted to be a little bit sneaky on the back line. That would have been a pretty solid kill had he managed to find it, but I think at the same time he should be a little bit happy, because while Jermaine was low, I would probably favor the ADC in that kind of matchup, unless he 100% gets the driving strike right away onto Jermaine, because if Fatalis procs onto Hercules, he's going to have a really hard time trying to lock that down and could have potentially found himself dying.
Could have been a bit of an awkward situation for Dignitas there. They got the tier 2, but they hung around quite a long time, and Elevate weren't really able to punish them, which in the end, it worked out. Dignitas ended up in a better spot because of it.
Yeah, the Humbot's ultimate for the disengage came in clutch for Dignitas. You could see Kivo held that just for the right moment in that narrow passageway.
Variety, I don't think that's what they wanted in there. Trix goes in too, as does Cubo. Jermaine forced a Desert Fury because he's out of CC options with his relics down. No numbers, he's doing a good work on the backline though. He's got that Neemium online, but he's got to fall back again. Zeros to the skies, a good meditate comes through from Elevate as well. However, Fails will fall, looking at the all-in potential on to the likes of the backline there in Arkil, but Arkil will just about survive. Dignitas 1-0.
And again, that fight just going in the way of Team Dignitas. I think that their draft is a lot better at responding to the engage from Elevate, because a big issue that I think that Elevate is struggling with here is you're matching up Circuit ultimate versus Bot's ultimate. So you have a ton of CC and control coming in for the side of Team Dignitas, but Elevate are mostly relying on Fails to try and secure a pick in the backline, but he's not being left any room whatsoever to get into that backline. When you have the Fafnir stun coming through, you've got Variety on this Hercules that's just absolutely destroying everybody.
He doesn't care about anything right now. The Earthbreaker not going to find a home there. And we actually look at the deaths on the side of Dignitas. It's all Variety. Like, there's a lot of investment from Elevate into Variety, and rightly so. But if you focus the Hercules that long and it's taken this long in these team fights to bring down, you're going to have a bad time if all their carries technically are all still undying.
I think the idea early on for the camping of Variety in that solo lane was because Elevate had such a strong dual lane draft with the Sylvanas and on her, it left them open to have a little bit more map presence on that solo lane side. Fails he knew that he wasn't going to have to worry about the mid and dual lane because they had high pressure lanes, so they could go ahead and get away with securing buffs, engaging into the enemy jungle. But with Variety, he's like the most open target for the Circuit to go ahead and try and lock down.
Well, if you voted for a split in this set, you're looking on course right now with a 7,000 experience lead and an almost 11,500, almost 12,000 gold lead here for Dignitas. Dignitas are in prime position for this one right now, but what can we see come out of Elevate to turn this?
As far as Elevate is concerned, it's like, I mean, there's the Giannis ultimate that we've seen that come swinging through for the TK damage before and taking out a carry, but I think it's primarily going to fall onto the back of them getting a solid CC chain from like Fails ulting a squishy target like Arkil or Zeros even, going ahead and taking away, because those clay minions in these fights have been really important as well, because the stuns that have been coming through as well as the burst damage is absolutely devastating in these small narrow passageways.
And they do body block as well, some auto attacks which can be coming out from Jermaine, which some people don't really take into account sometimes. Those autos do swing, so a clay minion eating it and not you does help a bit here and there. Left hand side now, the whole of Dignitas grouped up as a fivesome. No pressure in the other lanes right now, so they're going to try and force this hard. Is this risky not to push the lanes out?
There's not really much room for Elevate to push the lanes out because Dignitas has such a strong...
Oh, look at the burst damage with the Frenzy being available for him. Another Frenzy pop there by Dignitas one more time. They're not really finding the burst they want to. Earthbreaker from Variety did not hit Nulissa there, otherwise she may have had to use a relic. Fails in the mid, look for aggression onto Variety. Didn't find the Deathbane he was after. Phoenix in the left falls already.
Yeah, like I said, the new wall siege potential is just so strong on the side of Team Dignitas. Plus, you have Trix tank on that Fafnir just...
Oh, no, numbers. Just going to get womboed to death there. Frontline now down on Elevate. There's no real frontline remaining other than that of Dardes, who's going to have to be that force. And he's actually pushed into the team. 4-man ultimate. There's a chance for Elevate, but already Dardes is dead. Jermaine crushed in health thanks to the ultimate out of Zeros too. Middle Phoenix falls here, and they turn their attention to the right one.
It's just all falling apart right now for Team Elevate. You can see Dignitas, all they needed was that one pick. They've already picked up 2 Phoenixes, and they're just going to look to engage straight into that base and take that Titan as soon as possible.
Well, they do have 5 members here. Minions on the way. Fells to the back of Variety again. Hits onto Arkil, but already Arkil is taken out. Jermaine as Cubo will pick up Fails. 14-5. Dignitas make it a split.
And I think